Our lives begin to end the day that we become silent about the things that matter. Quote Martin Luther King Jr. Good morning. My name is Kyra Lange. For those of you who do not know me, I am a public relations major with an emphasis in nonprofit and ministry. But more importantly than that, I like to identify as just simply a child of God who's been given certain passions and drives. And for me, those passions are ones of advocacy and justice for those trapped within the world of human trafficking. So today, I will be talking about how public relations can influence the increase of awareness for nonprofit organizations fighting against human trafficking. I'll be exploring how my time in the major has provided me with the correct tools to help advance nonprofits' goals, as well as how it has helped me turn my passions for advocacy into steps toward implementation. My last point will cover how I plan to implement my knowledge in this field. So for my first point, public relations provides us professionals with relational skills that are fundamental in order to build upon passions and thus reach mutual goals. I came into this major with a passion for advocacy, but little direction on how to apply my passions. So just a little bit about my journey. I came into Biola in August of 2015 as a freshman, roaring to go in the kines major. I chose kinesiology, funny story, after watching a movie called Just Right with Queen Latifah. She was a physical therapist for a sports team, and I thought that that was the calling on my life. I took a science class, figured out not for me. So I drastically changed, and I chose Christian ministries. Though that's a great major, I found it didn't challenge me or sharpen the skills that I wanted in the ways that I wanted. So freaking out and thinking I need to graduate in 4 years, what am I gonna choose? I picked a major that I felt was safe, communications. So I'm sitting in my communications class and I'm looking over electives and I glance, intro to PR. And I think, what is that? I've never heard of PR. For some strange reason, I related it to government. And I took the class. And on the first day, I'll never forget, I sat in class and Professor Sinclair stood up and she said this: PR professionals have the opportunity to be a voice for the voiceless. And initially, my ears perked. That was the start of my journey into falling in love with PR. I found an industry where I could combine my love and passion for justice with actual industry work. I found an industry where I could learn new skills, but also sharpen the ones that I already had. PR has given me communicatory, written, and professional skills that can be used to build relationships with organizations and their publics to get toward the desired goal. We take several courses in this major that foster our growth in either writing, presenting, or just relational skills in general, things needed for the industry. One of the courses I've grown so much from has been writing for PR. In that class, we were given an array of assignments that focus around a single client of our choice. For that project, I chose A21. Within that, we are given assignments that vary from press releases to broadcast scripts, organizational features, and appeal letters. Through that, I learned that PR professionals have to really know and understand their client in order to write passionately for them. I've always been someone who loves to write to evoke emotional response in others. And one of the things that we say in this major with regards to writing is write to influence. You've been given a stage, and I would agree. We have a stage in PR where we can influence others to believe in what we believe in. Doing that in the written form requires the art of knowing who your publics are and how to reach them. It is a process of choosing this word over that for this speech, this deliverer over that one to give this kind of tone. It's about influence. In PR management, we're given a client that we work for a few months. A real client, unpaid work, but a real client. For me, it happened to be Brethren Christian High School. We get the practice of building proposals for our client, for them to implement in their business or organization. Through the process, I have learned that the CEOs, business owners, staff members, volunteers, everyone is a person. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is that behind every company, behind every organization, behind every business is a person with purpose to run that. A person with feelings, emotions, and passions. Humans are relational beings and thus require relationship with one another. The same goes for the world of PR. Every client that we meet with, write for, every public that we speak to should be done in such a way of seeking relationship. PR management has taught me that the basis for success is foundationally found in relationship with one another to achieve the mutual goal of growing the company or the business. So how does this relate to human trafficking? Human trafficking is a global epidemic that affects nearly 200 million victims worldwide, with only 1% of those victims ever getting rescued. I hope to increase that rescue percentage. Human trafficking, as defined by Webster's, is the action or practice of illegally transporting people from one country or area to another, typically for the purposes of forced labor or commercial sexual exploitation. A lot of the times we simply just tag sex to human trafficking, but it is more than that. It is any type of forced labor. As you can see on the chart, in the year 2017, there were reported 8,524 cases of human trafficking nationally, not counting the ones that were not reported. Of the different types of forced labor, the highest reported was sex trafficking with 6,081. Of every state in the nation, California ranked the highest at over 1,300 reported cases. The main hubs in California for human trafficking being San Francisco, San Diego, and Los Angeles. So what is being done? There are a plethora of organizations that seek to provide aid towards rescuing victims as well as putting an end to the billion-dollar industry that is human trafficking. To name a few, there's Polaris Project, A21, End Slavery Now, Enslaved to Nothing. If you do not know of these or have not checked them out, I would encourage you to. They're fundamental, great organizations. These organizations are good, but their impact is not wide enough, considering the evil they are trying to tackle here. The reach needs to be extended. In order to take any steps forward with these organizations' missions, people need to be aware and involved. There's strength in numbers, we hear that all the time. But how do we increase the number of people aware and know specifically who to target? Currently, I'm in a PR research class where we have to design a research question of our choice that has not been answered and conduct research to answer that question. Me being the person that I am, extremely passionate about human trafficking and advancing the cause of ending it, designed a question that I felt could help increase awareness. My question was this: how do nonprofit organizations increase awareness of human trafficking through social media to those between the ages of 18 to 29? Why social media? Because that is a medium that can reach across the world. Within minutes, you can upload to Instagram, click post, it gets published. Depending on how many followers you have, within hours, you could have hundreds, thousands, millions of views worldwide. Why did I choose that age range? According to Pew Institute, the main users of social media currently are between the ages of 18 to 29. They have the most influence and use a variety of platforms. Through my research, I conducted a 10-question survey that I sent out to 50 people, asking them questions like, what do you know about human trafficking, if anything? Are you aware of any organizations that are fighting human trafficking? I also designed a few sample posts that I felt people would respond to. Would you comment on this? Would you like this? Would you share this? My results showed me that they preferred posts with people's faces and an inspiring tagline attached, one that would encourage conversation. In order to increase awareness most effectively and quickly, social media needs to be coupled with skillful writing and influential statements. That will go a long way with the current age group and increase awareness. As a PR specialist, I hope to increase the rescue percentage through applying my knowledge from research, as well as knowing how to build relationships to achieve this goal. My first step would be to get my foot in the door with an established nonprofit fighting the cause. Like I mentioned earlier, A21. I recently interviewed with them. A21 is a local nonprofit organization specializing in fighting in human trafficking, founded by Christine Kane. And I'm given an opportunity to intern for them in the fall. I was able to show them the writing pieces I had done as mock press releases for the organization from the Writing for PR class, which actually landed me the interview. My hope is to work for them on staff in the future because I believe that they embody the passion of Christ for the hurting and lost with the drive for advocacy to be a voice for the voiceless. So once I am in what is next, I simply apply what I learned here. I implement it. I will write to influence. I will apply written skills to write pieces that draw publics in, that change people's perspective from thinking, this is too big of a cause, to every step forward counts. I will give social media input from the research I conducted. Not only do I have knowledge of how to better connect with publics and apply it through organizations, social media platforms, as well as my own, I'm also in the key public age range and can share what I know as the targeted audience. Lastly, I will build trust to create lasting relationships. I mention this last because trust takes time to build, but it is essential and required for any successful relationship. It requires honesty, diligence, and integrity. I will maintain integrity within all work aspects to establish my credibility, whilst having my passion drive me to keep seeking new ways to do my best work. Human trafficking is a beast of an industry. With odds that I mentioned of 200 million victims and only 1% of those victims ever getting rescued, I'm not naive to the fact that those odds seem too big to tackle. But in Psalm 82 it says this: "Vindicate the weak and the fatherless. Do justice to the afflicted and the destitute." So that is what I will do. Each of us has a different calling in this room. Each of us divinely created for divine purpose, and nothing was ever for us to fulfill our calling. For me, that was coming to Biola, taking my crazy journey to find this major, applying my passions, sharpening my skills, learning new ones, and ultimately putting them to the test in an industry I know my God has called me to. Sure, the evil of the world is great, but I know that God is greater, and that is why He has developed plans and ways to practically fight for justice, to practically advocate. So that is what I will do. And that is how being in PR can affect human trafficking. Thank you.